Здраво на сите и добродојавте во втората сезона од подкастот Стартап Револуција. Јас сум Ана, а вие сте сигурно тука бидејќи сакате да започнете свој бизнис или стартап или пак се интересирате за разговорот со мојот соговорник. Но, пред да гледате епизодата, тука сум да ви споделам нешто повеќе за нашите партнери Прокрај банка. Прокрај банка е банка во чиј центар се луѓето, бизнисите и животната средина. Веќе 22 години се пример за одговорност. И со цел да го подностават банкарскиот процес за сите кои што сакаат да имаат свој бизнис, те имаат креирано 3 пакети. Пакетот за млади предприемачи, пакетот за стартапи и пакетот за жени предприемачи. Посетете го нивниот вебсайт и запознајте се со нивните услуги. А со мене се гледаме во епизодата. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Startup Revolution podcast. We're doing one special right now, but in our studio here in Startup Club Skopje. So today, I have Martin Thwaites, right? Thwaites, yeah. Hopefully I get it right. Okay, awesome. He's a principal developer advocate. Yeah. Let's do that right.
Yes.
And Honeycomb, but we're here to cover several topics. We're going to talk about from software, maybe your background in sales, which I think is fascinating and interesting, till your position right now and what it what is a combination of it and what you're doing right now. But so lovely to have you here. Welcome to Startup Club Skopje.
Thank you for having me. It's a lovely city. My first time in North Macedonia, which, it's very hot. I'm here in a week where the UK is having a heat wave. So I escaped that heat wave to come to this heat wave.
But why are you here? Can you tell us more?
So I'm working with a customer of ours. They have an innovation week this week, and they asked for somebody at Honeycomb to come and help them with trying to think about observability a little bit differently. Observability is the thing that we do at Honeycomb. We were one of the originators, or more the people who popularized the term observability, and they really wanted to. The observability team wanted to do something really special for their little hack week that they're doing. So I've come out and helping the team think about observability, think about how they can do things better, and just working with them for a week is pretty great.
Awesome. Love that. It's lovely to have you here. And for the people that probably don't know you, can you tell them what's like your superpower, what people know you for?
Talking is probably my superpower. My job entails a load of things, but the most public part of that is doing talks at conferences, going to meetups. So we're going to do a meetup tonight in Skopje. So I go to meetups, I talk about observability ideas. I have a background in OpenTelemetry, which is an open source product that helps with observability. So I suppose I'm probably more known for some of my YouTube videos where I talk about probably unimportant things, to be perfectly honest, but people seem to watch them. And yeah, that's the sort of thing I do. I like talking. I like talking to people. I like meeting people. I like finding out what makes them tick. So that kind of stuff.
Perfect. And I would love to get into your role right now that you have in Honeycomb. How long have you been there? Why did you decided to join the team? You shared a little bit before we started filming officially, but would love to hear more.
So I get this question quite a lot. How long have you worked for Honeycomb? And it's a really interesting question because I've been in the logging and monitoring industry for better part of 2 decades now, which makes me feel really old when I say it out loud. And around sort of 10 years ago was when our founder, Charity Majors, was really thinking about how to innovate in that area, and observability was this new term. And back then I was conference speaking and I ran a conference talk, which I mentioned Honeycomb. So this was 2017, I think. And I mentioned it and I pinged Charity on Twitter and said, I just did this conference talk. Can I have a t-shirt, please? So we got these t-shirts, and this is actually the new version. The old version is a gray one with some green writing on it. And I cherish that t-shirt. I got that t-shirt. She sent that t-shirt out to me. And from there, I'd just been working in and around the observability ecosystem and being an independent consultant. I founded a few internal startups at organizations, and most of those were around this idea of how do we do rapid software development and stuff like that. So I was kind of in that sort of ecosystem of Honeycomb for quite a while, but then during the pandemic, that's when Honeycomb decided that they were going to come into the UK, and apparently the shortlist of people to hire in the UK was one, which was me, because they needed somebody who could do a lot of things and needed somebody who's quite versatile. So I've been working directly for Honeycomb for about 5 years now. But I have been in the ecosystem, in the ideas of what Honeycomb is about for the better part of 10, really.
Wow, which is great. And now let's get into your role right now. As you mentioned, they needed someone that was skilled in a lot of fields and could do a lot of things. So day to day, what does your job entail? And how does it look like?
I mean, day to day is a really hard one because
It's different.
every single day is different.
Then do you have a favorite day? Like, if we explain a favorite day of the activities that you do.
So my favorite thing to do is show people Honeycomb, because we have, I refer to our products as very visceral. You can't really describe it. You've got to see it in action. And when you're showing somebody your product and you see them light up and go, wow, that didn't just do that, right? Like that, those reactions, that's what really gets me out of bed in the morning. We ran a conference. So I also run our customer conferences around the world. I run the agendas for those and help people with their talks on those. And we ran one of those in New York recently, and we showed this new feature that we just built. And I had one of the engineers who was working on that feature come and do the demo for us. And we got literal gasps from the audience for people viewing it for the first time. And we had one person who was actually a customer of ours, sat in the front row, stick his hand up, and we picked on him because I knew who he was, and he was like, did that just do what it didn't, right? That was those are the reactions that I'm looking for. That's like when I go and show it to a prospect who's asked for a demo of the product, when I go to a conference and I'm on the booth and I'm showing people the product, like those are like my perfect days. Going to a conference and seeing 100 people in a day and showing them the product, like that, those are my perfect days.
Okay, awesome. And let's just build up a scenario that I'm coming to a booth and you need to share to me what does Honeycomb do or present it to me. What would you say?
Normally what I do is, how people perceive products really depends on where they come from, not their social background or technical background, really. It's where are they right now in relation to the product that we're delivering. So are they somebody who already knows what observability is? Most people don't, so I have to reset at that point. But you start asking questions. It's like, okay, what do you know about this area? How do you do this thing right now? So I'd be asking questions like, well, how do you know whether your product's running in production right now? How do you know that it's doing the right things? And you'd be probing questions, and then you go, right, okay, and I've got maybe 7 or 8 different preset demos that I can do in different areas, and I'll pick a couple of those that are related to what where they are right now to show them how we're unique, how we're different, because that's what we are as a product. We're a unique product. We're very, very unique as a product. So being able to show people how that relates to their day job is really important to us.
So it really starts with the situation of where they are with building their product right now. What are kind of the experience that they're having with testing and developing in order for you to help them how they can maybe accelerate and optimize their journey?
Yeah, so it's like I said, the product is very visceral, and most of the products in the observability space are visceral things. Like I could spend 10 minutes explaining to you in words, or I could show you in 1 minute exactly what it does, and you'd get it. In 10 minutes, you probably still won't get it. It'd be like, you'd be stood there going, yeah, okay, can you stop talking now? But I won't because I like talking. But that 1 minute of showing you a demo of it is worth 10 minutes of explanation.
What are the biggest mistakes made right now in product development?
Not getting to market fast enough. I can't remember where the quote comes from, but I love the quote, which is, if you're not embarrassed by your first MVP, you release too late. You should be embarrassed by that first MVP. You should push it out to people, and they should be telling you how bad this thing is.
Mm-hmm.
Because if somebody's telling you how bad something is, it means that actually they care about what you're doing enough to tell you that it's bad. They don't just walk away from it. But they're telling you where their pain points are. And product market fit is all about finding people's pain points and fixing them. So if you are, you've got, I don't know, 15 features in your little app that you've built, if only 2 of those are what people are complaining about, forget about the other 13, just develop those 2 because they don't care about those other 13. If you've spent a lot of time making those 13 really good, you don't really know. You want to know which ones people are actually using, which ones people are having problems with. So releasing too late is always the problem. Trying to, I'm going to make sure my product market fit works. I've got user research and I've spent 7 months doing user research. It's like, great, you know, your competitors released 3 months before that. Or nobody cares about that thing now. You've missed the window. You need to release as quickly as possible.
Pauza. Време за кафе.
Абсолютно. Ти благодарам. Со секој испиено кафе во Стрекја бар и Стрекја Русидер вие го поддржувате Стартап Клуб Скопје, така што следната кафе пауза направете ја токму кај нас. Awesome. I love that, especially because we work with really early stage startups here at Startup Club Skopje, and that I feel like there are a lot of barriers before coming to the point that you're going and releasing the product to the market. Can we talk more about that? What keeps people from actually going to market? Are there certain things that you have realized throughout your work as patterns, or people think that they're holding them back? How can we go past that?
There's an element of perfectionism. People want polished. They see a Facebook website and they go, oh, it needs all of these features in order to be complete. I think there's this inbuilt idea in people's heads that you can't release something until it's done. We have a saying, honeycomb progress is better than perfection. Building in cycles so that you can constantly demo, you can constantly show people the software that you've built, get continuous feedback. We used to call this extreme programming back in the day. This XP principle was this idea of rapid feedback loops at every single stage of your software, whether that's feedback from technical tools that something's broke, or whether that's feedback from human tools, i.e. people telling you that actually, no, this doesn't do what I expected it to do, or this doesn't do what I want it to do. This isn't as useful to me as you think it is. But people want to be, I've delivered a complete product. Everything is done. This one-shotting idea. It's like, I have one shot to give this to people. It's like, you don't. It's fine. Things, I mean, how many times on your phone do you get an update for an app? Like every single day there is, the Facebook app has a new update. It's like every single day you get an update. Why are you any different? Why do you need to get things right first time when nobody else does?
Yeah, and I feel like things are changing so rapidly. No one's going to remember your mistakes. I mean, like, you need to be just involved in the process more, and I feel like change faster, adopt faster. But let's get into the situation when someone has, like, initial customers have built the product to a certain point and now they need to scale it. And I want to talk about building a team that could do that in your experience in that background. How have things changed in a pipeline and development from at the beginning of your career and now? What are things that are different in, like, technology, building the team, also access to talent? How are those things also influencing the process?
So I think tackling the access one is a really interesting one. I think with remote tools right now, the ability to have a wider net to bring people in is, I would say, both intoxicating and bad at the same time. Because the proximity problem that you had when your office was in central London, you had a catchment area of maybe 40 or 50 miles around your office because that you wanted people to come into the office, was itself a barrier that allowed you to have a more constrained area of people. Now all of a sudden you're time zone constrained more than you are location constrained. So when you're looking for somebody, you're looking for somebody in UTC +1, or you'll perhaps go UTC +1, -1 just to stay inside of those windows. But that catchment area is now really big, and the talent differential between the person who is really, really bad and not got much experience, but talks really well, to the person who is incredibly good, that barrier, that whole scale now is really, really big. So finding talent, I think, is maybe harder now than it was, not easier. So yeah, you've got 400 candidates when you really only had 20 before. But realistically, is it 400 candidates or is it still 20?
Yeah.
So, now you've got to sift 380 of them to get it down to the 20 that are actually that good. And that doesn't mean that only that 20 are going to be in the catchment area of where you're based as a person. But it does mean that you've got more work on to try and find the right people. And the right people is the hard part. It's not good people. It's the right people. The thing I think from sort of the first teams I started running, probably back in, I'd say 2010, the early 2010 maybe, it was more, can they code? Do you know what C# is? Can you spell is, maybe a sort of low bar. Whereas like the last team I ran, or last teams I ran, was more about finding the right people that help accelerate a team. It's not about the best people. Like throwing 4 senior engineers in a room and saying you're a team is a bad idea. The teams I built last time, the last one I started from, there was 2 of us as engineers that came on to go and build a brand new internal startup within an organization. We started with 2 people, eventually we were 3 people, and that was then the core team. And we started building teams by mitosis. So we'd build up a team big enough, and then we'd split that team into 2 teams, and then we'd build those 2 teams up, and then we'd split those 2 teams out. But every time we built up those teams, what we were doing was we were looking at, what does the team need? So do they need, and a lot of the time it was they need a junior. And the reason they needed a junior is because that person thought differently. They would keep those people honest by asking questions about why are we doing things in a particular way. So finding the right junior that gels with that team and helps accelerate that team, not making an individual better, but making a team better. Because individuals don't build software and products. Teams build products. And finding the right team, that was how I changed my way of thinking, was I'm no longer building an individual or hiring an individual. I'm taking somebody and dropping them in a team. And some of the best people that we hired were actually the juniors. Like some of those now are seniors and principals at that organization because they were just really inquisitive people, and they were people who could that could 10x a team. Like the whole like 10x developer idea. 10x developers exist. You know how they 10x? What they do is they 10x their team. Like they don't produce 10x output themselves, but their team now produces 10x output. That's what the true 10x developer is about. And you can't be that by being obnoxious as a person. You have to be that person who helps the team. So really thinking about, from a product perspective, where we've got a back-end service over here, I'm not going to hire somebody who's a front-end developer and drop them into that team. That's not the right idea. But maybe it is. Maybe I need somebody with a front-end mindset to go into that team to think about how their documentation and their API contracts work. Maybe that's the right person in that team to help them. And it's really looking at that team and saying, what do I need? Rather than let's go and find the best person, the best developer in the world, that can, be a 10x developer and produce 10x the output of everybody else. No, I'd prefer to get somebody in that team that can accelerate the team, because then you build a holistic product.
Awesome. That's perfect. And I love this aspect that you gave about which member is going to add on to the team, not which one is the best individual out of all that we are going to interview. And I know that some of the future CTOs will be listening to this episode. And in this age of AI, where I feel like exactly is it happening? And how it influences the workflows and optimizations of processes and ways of thinking. I feel like critical thinking of the people that are managing with that intelligence is very important. So now if we can help them out of how they can differentiate the people that they actually need in the team, instead of this crowd of applications that they get and people think that are qualified for something, how do we pick the right people? What are things that stood out to you when you were in the process of picking the people that were a part of the teams? Or what was something that stood out that was different in the mindset during the interviews or during that process?
So what we found, and this was before the age of AI really, but what we're finding now within the AI space is the thing that hasn't changed is the ability to articulate. People who can articulate what they want, why they want it, why they're doing a particular thing is way more important than actually being able to build the thing. Anybody can research how to do C#. C# isn't a hard language. Java's not a hard language. JavaScript isn't a hard language. Actually doing the typey the codes, that's the easy part. But being able to tell people we've developed in this particular way for this particular reason, because you're not developing 5 lines of code. You're developing 5 lines of code across 20 different services that interact together to build a system. So the actual typey the codes isn't actually the hard part. It's not even the important part. The important part is, why did we decide to decompose these into 2 services? Why did we choose this database technology over that database technology? What were the decisions? What were the questions that we asked? What were the answers that we got from the questions that we asked? Those are the important things. And we did that way back when we built this team. And we did, at the time we were running mob programming, which is the idea of a entire team development flow. So only one person writes the code, one person tells that person what code to write, and then the rest of the team watch and ask questions. And in that kind of mode, all of a sudden, the actual ability to articulate what you want to develop, not go away, I will just type in the codes and you will approve them and then we will push them. I think that set people up a lot better for the AI world, because now all of a sudden, your pair programmer is actually Claude. It's Codex. It's using Cursor or whatever model you're using. And all of a sudden now you need to articulate in a very specific way what you want it to build and why you're doing it in particular ways. You want it to reason about some things. So if somebody is a really good programmer, they might be a good programmer in an AI world. If somebody is, and this is the principal developer aspect, the people who go in and they ask questions like, well, why did you do that? What was your decision-making process? What was the thing that interested you about doing it in that particular approach, so that the curiosity aspect is the really interesting part. And being able to talk to an AI and say, well, why did you make that decision? What was the decision-making process that got you there to make that decision? I'm a firm believer of never argue with the decision that was made, argue with the process that got them to make that decision. The fact that somebody made a decision isn't the problem. It could be the wrong decision, that's fine. But unless you trace that back and find out what assumptions did they make that took them to that decision that they made, that's the interesting part. And that's how you teach people.
This is so interesting, because a couple of years back, I got a chance to interview 2 product owners. And I asked them kind of a similar question of, how do you decide who's going to be a great hire in order for them to be a product owner? And they said on the interviews, if there's someone that asks the best questions or the most interesting ones about the process or something about the company, or if we give them some kind of a challenge, it depends on the questions that they ask us, that we can determine if someone has the mindset in order to take on this role. So what you mentioned right now, I feel like it resonates with that a lot.
Being able to, and it's not just about did they ask an insightful question, it's did they follow that up? Were they actually listening to the answer of the question that they got back? You know, my son is really annoying in this respect. He'll ask a question because what he wants to do is say something. So he'll ask a question so he gets the right to say something. The active listening aspects, you ask a question, you get an answer, and then you formulate another question based on the previous answer. Like those are what you're looking for in those processes now, even more than we were back then. You're now looking for people who ask the why, that are inquisitive, but not the people who are like, I have a different opinion than you. I'm asking you that question because I believe something different. You want people who, there's a term, get the right people on the bus. What you want to do is choose your driver, and then get the right people on the bus to take you there, that go with you. You don't want 3 bus drivers on that bus, because that's never a good idea. I mean, I have a wife and 3 kids, and I have basically 5 drivers in my car when I'm driving. They all want to tell you how to drive and where to go to. Like, that's not a good place.
As a parent, do you have at the top of your mind, like the most curious question that your kids like asked you, the most interesting one that you were like, oh, I never thought of that?
I don't know. I mean, you get them all the time. Like I love how literal children get. They really, they don't ask stupid questions. They ask questions because they truly don't have the base knowledge to know why those things are like that. And all of a sudden you're just like, because they are, like, because you can't, it really makes you think about your assumptions, that you're basing like everything that you've done, you're basing it on assumptions on top of assumptions on top of assumptions. And you really don't know why. You just accept that that's the way it works.
Because people did it like that before. That's what sometimes you say that. And I ask you this because on the Startup Revolution AI Summit, we did the pre-selection for the incubator program, and one of the mentors brought his son during the mentoring sessions with the startups. And his son was the one asking the questions to the startups when they were pitching. So that was like a fun exercise for them to kind of have interesting questions for someone that actually doesn't know anything about the industry, anything about the product and what they're doing. And it was really, really fun.
I think one of the really interesting things that I don't think it was an actual question, but how people, children don't understand the difference between internet and Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think this is children, this is young adults now, that don't understand the difference between the internet doesn't work and I can't connect to the Wi-Fi are 2 completely different things. As a geek, I know that the internet comes from the router down the wire from outside, and then that goes over the Wi-Fi, and the fact that the Wi-Fi is down doesn't mean the internet is down. But trying to explain that to somebody, it's like, why is the internet not working? It's like, well, okay, so do you know how bytes are transferred over a wire? No. Okay. Right. So there's a computer on the other end of, and you're like, oh, yeah, there's a whole level of base knowledge that I have that's going to take me a long time to explain to you how that works.
Oh my God, I love that. And just to kind of at the end of our conversation, I wanted to ask you as some of like the future trends of product development and things that you're seeing that people need to tap into more or understand more, and things that are gonna be happening in the like developer industry that you can share from your experience, or something that's happening in Honeycomb right now.
So about a year ago, the AI trend started, and Honeycomb is no different to most organizations. We were looking at AI as I work on the booth and I get loads of people coming to the booth and it's like, well, what are you doing with AI? And we're like, nothing, because it doesn't work, and there's nothing that's immediately obvious in our space that's something that we can do. And we started to take a step back, and we delivered some really small things like natural language querying and that kind of stuff. There's little AI features. But then we took a step back and started to think about, well, what would AI native actually be? And I think there's a lot of organizations that are seeing AI and just going, oh, I can type some natural language stuff and I can get an answer. That's AI. But that's not unique. It's not interesting. It's not innovative. It's not a new thing from a product, at least now anyway. Chatbots have existed for a very long time. Where we are now is, how do we use AI in new and innovative ways is the hard part. We went away and we looked at how we can, we're building something called adaptive UIs. So the idea that the UI that you're working with changes depending on the context, and it uses AI to do that. That's how generative AI can be different. Not just throwing a chatbot onto the bottom of every page and saying, ask a question about what's happening on the page. That's fine, but that's not an innovative angle. And that isn't how you build like $1 million businesses, $1 billion businesses, by just adding a chatbot. You can maybe do that, but it's not as reliable. And I think what people need to understand right now is AI is incredibly powerful. It isn't just a chatbot. There are tons of ways that you can use AI to enhance a product experience that maybe an organization has built a product, and you look at that and say, well, what if it could do X? So Honeycomb, like 10 years ago, we were talking about a couple of key concepts. We were talking about having a conversation with your production system. So me and Charity went and looked back earlier in the year. We were trying to work out whether we changed our messaging when AI came out. Have we lost the honeycomb in Honeycomb? And we went back and we found some of our messaging from back 10 years ago. One of them was, have a conversation with your production system. And we're like, oh, that's literally what we've just built. It just so turns out that we can actually do some of the things that we were talking about back then. We were also talking about debugging production systems is a team sport. And now all of a sudden we're able to do that with agents. And now there's actually you and your agents and working on a workspace that's AI driven to build all of this stuff out. And we're looking back and going, actually, we haven't changed our messaging. We're just able to achieve more things now that are closer to our original messaging than they were. So I think taking a look at, what did you want to do 10 years ago? Maybe it's failed messaging from 10 years ago because it wasn't good enough back then. Is integrating AI going to allow you to do some of the things that you thought were revolutionary 10 years ago? Look at that and go, well, with AI, I can do that.
Yeah.
But obviously be cautious. AI is expensive, and monitor things and observe things properly, but do think about those things. But I think people need to stop thinking about AI as natural language. Natural language is part of it, but inference and reasoning and all of these kind of things that can happen, way more powerful than just typing natural language.
Awesome. Thank you so much for giving us this overview. And just as a last question, was more not a question, but I'm interested. What is an advice that you would give to junior developers getting on their first team, but also on the other side, and people on management during hiring processes and scaling, that you can give right now that would have been so valuable if you would have known that at certain moments in your career?
So I would take this a different way. The advice I'm giving a lot of people right now is, stop thinking that the way that we have to work right now is the same as we worked 5, 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. AI has changed the game. AI coding agents, they have changed the game. They're enabling junior developers to work in a way that the managers that are hiring them have no knowledge of. They're making a lot of things so much easier. They're abstracting so many other things away. They're allowing these junior engineers to not learn with the baggage that we had from 10 years ago. The stuff that we had 10 years ago, the knowledge that we've gained over that decade, is still valuable, but in a different way. So when we're hiring juniors, don't be hiring yourself. Don't be looking at, oh, do you know how to write C#? I don't care whether you know how to write C# now. C# can be learned really quickly. Do you know how to ask questions? Are you inquisitive? Are you intelligent generally? Those things are important. Looking at how those juniors might work now is way more important than how you worked 10 years ago. Those interview processes that are based on hiring you or hiring the same developer that you hired last year, they need to change. You need to embrace that there are new ways of working. And they might be better. They might not be. They're just different. They allow you to do different things. They might allow you to do them faster. They maybe don't allow you to do them faster. They might be more scalable horizontally than previous, but there are just different ways of working. So taking a step back and looking at how you are hiring people, what is important to you, which isn't necessarily the same as it was last year even. So looking at those hiring processes as a manager, as a junior, stop thinking that you need to know the same as what that manager, that person who's been in this for 10 years. Embrace the new ways of working. You can get to the same place as everybody else in a different way. There is more than one route to the destination.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think this is great. I feel like it was even helpful for me. It was really nice to hear that perspective. Martin, thank you so much for being a part of this episode. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, to hear more about your journey, to hear more about your approach in this space and the way you develop things, the way you run your teams, the experience that you had. It's been a blast.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me.
No problem. And thank you guys for watching this episode of the Startup Revolution podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more episodes, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.